exquisite cooking, and harmonizing yoga. Join us as we take the next 30 days to discover a whole new way of living. Hi. Our focus for today is going to be upon the spine. Many people in today's society suffer from spinal issues, and these are a result of improper posture, as well as alignment issues and the way in which we sit. It can also be related to stress. We're going to learn how to make the spine more supple, more flexible, and stronger through the yoga practice. And this practice that we're doing today is going to be directed towards the spine, and will then in turn create a very healthy and flexible spine. So we'll begin first by just isolating the spine region by region in a gentle twist. We'll start with the head. So softly turn the head to the right and then to the left, alternating right and left. This is movement through the cervical spine. Now we'll do the same through the upper body. So we're going to isolate, lock the head out, which is going to also lock the neck. Then we're just going to move just through the upper body. Now don't allow the hips to come around too. Just move the chest and the rib cage. So twist to the right, to the left, keeping the pelvis locked. Now we're going to move through the lower portion of the spine, primarily the lumbar, and then also the movement through the pelvis. Keep the chest forward, the neck also locked out, and now we're just going to move through the pelvis. Now this is coming through the action of the hip joints as well as through the lower spinal column. So open out to the right and then open out to the left while keeping the upper body facing forward. Now let's do each step by step until the whole body moves into a twist. So we'll start with the head, turn the head all the way to the left, then rotate the upper body, then finally swing the pelvis around to the left. Then come out the opposite way, head first, then shoulders, then pelvis. Now we'll do the same to the opposite side, head first, upper body, pelvis, head, upper body, pelvis. We'll do this one more time, each direction. Good. So that's the rotation of the spinal column, twisting it, moving it like we would if we were to wring out a sponge. Now let's move in the medial plane, front and back, finding the independent movement of each vertebra as it rolls into a forward bend and then a back bend. So we'll start with the forward bend first. So chin to chest first, then begin to drop the shoulders, and as the shoulders drop, this is going to arch the upper spine, and then through the abdominal region, and then finally come as far forward as you can without rotating the whole pelvis down. So try to keep the pelvis elevated, but it can come forward slightly. But we're focusing more on the relationship of the lower portion of the spine to the pelvis as opposed to the hips to the pelvis. So try to differentiate between the two. Then we're going to lift, starting from the base, core, upper body, head. The let's do this 2 more times. So head goes down first, upper body, abdomen, and then lower spine connected to the pelvis, then pelvis, abdomen, upper body, head. Okay, one more time, moving on your own. Good. Now the lateral plane. So this is the side bend of the spine. Do the same sequence from head to the tailbone. Starting with the head, drop your ear towards your shoulder, then begin to arch through the upper body, and then finally through the lower spine. Now try not to lean forward or back. Keep it as if you were pressed between 2 boards, one on the front, one on the back. Then come up from the bottom, and then the head releases last. So head, upper body, core, then up, core, upper body, head, opposite way, head, body, core, up, head, upper body, core, and then up. Now let's try a back bend. This is usually the most treacherous for people. And if it is something that makes you a little bit nervous, then just bring the hands to the lower back. The palms are pressing into the top of the pelvis. And then pull the elbows in towards one another. Lift the heart. Then for the back bend, for security, we're going to start from the lower back first, then the upper back, and finally, if you feel ready, you can drop the head back. Then come out, head, chest, and then lower spine. Now unsupported, arms hang into the weight of gravity, lower back, upper back, head, and then come up. We're going to try this 2 more times, move with the breath. So we're going to inhale back, and then exhale out. Good. Now to release the spine, we're going to come onto our hands and knees, onto all fours. Now we're just going to circle the upper body around. Then go in the opposite direction. Neutral. Now we're going to sequence together a combination of Marjariyasana, cat-cow pose, with Balasana, child's pose. Start first in cow pose. For cow pose, we're moving. Now this is one place that people have a lot of difficulty because they don't know where to move from the body. So in cat-cow pose, we're moving from the joint of the shoulder and the joint of the hip. And with the two, we're going to sustain the movement of the spine, working towards a inward and outward arch of the spinal column. So guide the movement again from the hips and the pelvis. We'll just experiment here with cat-cow pose for a moment. Exhale, chin to chest, tuck the tailbone, arch the spine to the sky. Inhale, lift the tailbone to the sky, move the back of the head towards the upper back, and then dip the belly button towards the earth. Now we're ready for the sequence. So for the sequence, go into cat pose, chin to chest, tuck the tailbone, then bring the hips to the heels, extend into child's pose, but make sure not to move the hands. Then come forward, back onto the hands and knees, and then arch into cow pose.
before returning again into cat pose and then into child's pose. Now as you go through each of these transitions, observe how the spinal column is being affected by the movement. Okay, we'll just do 2 more cycles. And then release. Come back to neutral. Now, if at this point you have a lot of tension in your wrists, or if you find it difficult to be here, come into child's pose. Bring the knees together if you have less flexibility. Otherwise, if you have more, separate the knees a little bit. And then you can keep the arms extended up overhead in the child's pose, or wrap them around to the outsides, reaching towards the feet. Otherwise, we'll just do one more practice here for the spinal column. Now, learning how to use the core to support the spine is a really important part of our practice. Now, to discover core strength, which supports the spinal muscles, we'll do a simple balancing posture here in the table position. Put the weight into the right hand and left knee. Then we're going to lift the left hand and right knee off the ground, or right foot off the ground. Then release. Inhale, opposite side. Reach from the toe to the fingertips of the lifted hand and foot. Release. Alternating right and left. Extend fully, straight line through the body with the lifted arm and the lifted leg and the torso. And then relax. Okay, from here, if you have any tension in your back, come into child's pose, or another option available to you is to come onto your back. Keep the knees bent. Let the arms open, and let your lower back release to the floor. Thank you again for joining us, and look forward to having you again for future classes.